Hi guys, I'm here with a wonderful Dr. Keesha. Just heard her lecture and very impressed with what she had to say.
Thank you.
And it was just about sex and education and how we hold our emotions. And I thought it would be really fun to share with you guys. When I was a teenager, there was nobody who would talk to me. It was forbidden.
Right.
And still with teenagers, it's not very comfortable to talk about it. What do you recommend that as a parent we can do?
That's a really good question. I have 4 children and they're all over 20 now, but when they were growing up, first of all, make sure you start early, because if you start when they're teenagers, they're embarrassed by you, because you haven't been part of the conversation all along. So you need to start when they're young and do age-appropriate teaching. So when they ask questions, don't make up words like your pee-pee or down there or your privates, give them the language to call their parts by, and then make sure that they don't feel shame around them. If they're touching them, they're exploring them, don't shame them into stopping. Like, we don't do that, don't stop, don't touch, because we don't mind if they're playing with their fingers and their toes and we think they're cute when they blow bubbles, but then when they touch anything that's genital, then we get upset with them. So you can't do that. It's really starting the conversation early. And what I did, I was telling the group that I just spoke to that when my kids were teenagers, I was the sex expert because I am a sexpert. I'm a PhD in sexology, and so I would let the kids all write down questions on paper, put it in a bowl, and then I would just sit and answer them for them. So if you have somebody that's good with knowledge, because most of the questions they ask about are about how to relate to one another, right? Not so much about the mechanics of sex, but how to be in relationship with one another. And so the more that you model how to learn how to be in a healthy relationship with your significant other, the more that they feel like they've got that teaching, right? It's so much about how you are too. And then create a sex positive household. In other words, my kids felt comfortable at the dining room table at dinner time asking me any question they wanted to, and because they could feel safe. And there was no I would just say whatever it was, the answer to it. So I think that's a really important piece. And then they're going to find porn in some way. And so talking about that proactively and saying this is not the way to learn about sex, very important, right? That is a completely fake way of having intimacy with another person, so that you don't have boys learning how to have sex from porn and then thinking that that's realistic in reality. Yeah.
Because we actually do get that kind of incident. I actually recently accidentally found the comic book my son was reading had on the cover, it was a very innocent fairy story. Mm-hmm. So I would never question a book like that. But then inside, it was fairies were having sex. It was the content of it. And he wouldn't say anything about it. He was just like, it was a good story.
How old is he?
He is 11 years old.
So he's curious.
He's curious.
So in that incident, you wouldn't shame him. Mm-hmm. You would find information for, ask him questions of what he's looking for, and then help him explore.
Okay,
so that he feels safe.
Okay, yeah. So it's an open talk about when some kind of accident or incident happened. To talk about it. As
the worst thing we can do is to treat sex like, even if you find kids playing I'll show you mine if you show me yours, playing doctor, to not shame them for it, right? Just to take it as feedback. Oh, they're curious, so that means I, as the responsible adult, need to now be in charge of how that information is disseminated to them, so that they're not trying to figure it out. And every time an experience that happens on their libido story, their libido map as they're growing up, if they have a very wise, attuned caregiver to intervene, like when they found the fairy story, right? Then they won't feel shame around it, and they won't feel an upset around it.
How we consciously educate them on sex really is as whenever it comes up,
Yep.
then that's going to make the differences as an adult when they become, or them having a partner.
Yes.
And all the relationship, intimacy will make the differences.
It makes it healthier, and they have a better chance of having a good one and being comfortable in their bodies with their sexuality and their sexual expression than being uncomfortable and shamed.
Perfect. That was the key for today's lecture. And follow Dr. Keesha online. You have
DrKeesha.com. It's DrKeesha.
she's amazing.
Oh, thank you
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.